Tell me lies, 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 sweet little lies. When I can't unbear the truth, you tell me lies, 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 sweet little lies. Help me make them all come true. Tell me that the rain won't fall.
Hi, and welcome to another new episode of NASA and Their Big Lies. Well, over the past week, we've had a media blitz of news generated from NASA, the sole rights distributor of all space news, views, and images since 1958. In the past couple of weeks, they have been plastering mainstream media with several major articles about alleged space adventures. We have seen the first clear images of Pluto, our first full-view images of Earth from 1 million miles away. And then our modern-day Einstein, Stephen Hawkings, came out and announced that he and a wealthy Russian would spend $100 million to explore alien life. This was followed in the same week with the new Big Bang Vatican huge news shift by Jesuit Pope Francis, who announced that, quote, a magician with a magic wand, end quote, did not create the universe, and which experts said put an end to the, quote, pseudo-theories, end quote, of creationism and intelligent design. And then this was followed up with a capstone on Sunday night's most popular show, CBS 60 Minutes interview, with NASA's new spokesperson, Bronx-born African-American astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson, about all things space. All of this within several days reporting of one another. So what is going on here? Let's take a look and start with Disney Pictures' dog Pluto. NASA's picture of their planet they call Pluto. Understandably, I get them mixed up a lot. So here we see the most past recent pictures of the best pictures of Pluto from a few years ago, and now the new pictures, images, and composites are quite spectacular. I want to bring attention to the right side here where you see the sun hotspot, and it's impossible for the sun to have this hot a spot on here and also on one of its moons. It's 93 million miles plus 3 billion miles away, and they're saying the sun can create a hot spot on Pluto when they had to use plutonium for energy because the solar rays didn't have enough sun power. Come on, folks. And in a well-coordinated media campaign, here's Google promoting Pluto, which just a few years ago was downgraded to a dwarf planet. And now we see the first pictures of Pluto that were shown to us just a few days ago. Now, is that a man on the moon? Wait. Oh, looky there, looky there. Look what the guys in NASA Photoshop did for those with eyes to see and ears to hear. It's Disney's Pluto. Now, I make fun of this, but they've spent over hundreds of millions of dollars of our taxpayer money. Pluto is named after Hades, the guardian of hell. The moons are named Nix, Styx, Hydra, Charon, and Kerberos. Now, these are named after the guardians of the underworld. Now, we know that Chiron is the ferryman of the underworld. Nyx is the goddess of the shadows of the world or the night. Hydra is the many-headed serpent, like the creature that guards the entrance to the underworld. And Cerberus is the three-headed dog that guards anyone trying to escape from hell. Shouldn't that be telling you something? Okay, so here's an article I picked out from Wired Magazine the other day. It's by Jenna Garrett on July 26th. Today is July 28th, 2015. What we're really looking at when we look at Pluto. So what we're really looking at is a composite image. This is a composite image showing 3 of the most detailed images of Pluto released by NASA. Now I want to take this article apart a little bit for all its discrepancies, lies, and innuendos. The images of Pluto that the New Horizons probe beamed across 3 billion miles of hard vacuum, it says. Here, well, if we look over here in distance to Pluto, we see that Pluto lies 4.67 billion miles. So immediately we have a discrepancy in this article. Now it goes on in the second paragraph to say, did we really see Pluto? Why would they bring that question up? The New Horizons mission wasn't a hoax, we're told. Human beings really did send a little robot all that way. Just as conspiracy theorists question the Apollo moon landings, some folks claim the Pluto flyby was fabricated. The reason they're bringing this up is because the new truth movement about the Apollo moon landings being a hoax and NASA being a big, great lie is gaining steam across the alternative news internet. So that had to be addressed. We're making headway. So it goes on to tell us it took 9 years of crossing the solar system to glimpse Pluto, again, which really exists, folks. They want to tell you again, it really exists. Now, they also tell us that NASA is not bothered. It requires a lot of concentration to send something the size of a piano across the solar system to peek at something so far away. Look at this, how much it cost. It cost $700 million and took 15 years to get these images back from space. Question has to be asked, why, with all the people hungry and all the problems we're having on this earth, are we throwing this kind of money at something so ridiculous? Now, how did they get these photos? They're told were the composite of multiple images taken by 3 sophisticated cameras. ALICE is an ultraviolet imaging spectrometer, and then the long-range reconnaissance imager is essentially a black and white digital camera with a telephoto lens. It offers resolution 10 times that of the human eye. And as far as NASA is concerned, what you see here is what you'd see if you were out there. The deputy manager, Paul Geithner, says, so it's what it would look like that if you were in an airplane out there close by. Except it's a composite, Mr. Geithner. It's not one shot. That has to be asked the question, why? These are images and paintings, folks. They're fakes. All of them. That is why they're called images and not photographs. Truth be told, NASA had Photoshop long before Apple, and DARPA, the U.S. Military Advanced Technology Department, released the internet to the public in 1994 after having it private in their military facilities for decades. These images are meant to deceive, but now with common CGI and technological advancement, we can take apart these decades-old images to see how they were constructed in the late 1960s and 70s. That exposes once and for all a very important component of the great 500-year-old lie.
Okay, so here is continuing on another article just right around the same time as all the Pluto news. This is dated July 20th, 2015 from the Daily Mail. And what I wanted to do was on the theory that if NASA is lying to us and has been lying to us since 1958, their lies have gotten so huge and so egregious that it becomes very easy just to take it apart. So let's take it apart. So here is a title that came out July 20th, Earth as You've Never Seen It Before. Never seen it before. New NASA camera provides an epic view of our planet from 1 million miles away. We're told that the image captured by the Deep Space Climate Observatory Discover used their Earth Polychromatic Imaging Camera, or EPIC. NASA loves their acronyms. So we're being told that this is what Earth looks like from 1 million miles away. The stunning image, which focuses on America, was taken by Discover and is the satellite's first view of the entire sunlit side of our planet. And then a little further down, we see that the blue marble was captured by EPIC and created by combining 3 separate images to show the Earth in incredible detail. So why now? And so what is this all about? Well, let's click over to here, and this is an article again, July 20th, same date, from the Atlantic Monthly. We find that Mr. Internet himself, Al Gore, had dreamed up a satellite, and it just took its first picture of Earth. Sounds like a story here, so let's read it. So what we read is, one night in February 1998, Vice President Al Gore awoke with a start. He had dreamed of a satellite. It would sit far out in space, beyond the reach of more conventional orbiters. So distant it could capture all of planet Earth in one camera lens. It would then beam this view, the whole planetary disk, a la the blue marble, down to the planet below. The video would be live streamed on the internet. He couldn't shake the idea. And then we're being told that soon after his dream, the vice president met with the director of NASA, who said that the agency could pull it off for less than $100 million. The project went forward. It was nicknamed Gorestat. And then we're told that 15 years of politics happened, and that's when NOAA and the U.S. Air Force began to take interest in it. Gorestat was designed to sit at the first Lagrangian point, a calm spot between the gravitational eddies of the Earth and the Sun. That's also where solar weather observatories sit, and the 2 agencies needed a new sun monitoring satellite, as their old one was getting on in years. knowing the Air Force provided funding to retrofit, launch, and maintain the satellite. That's how a satellite conceived in a vice president's 1990s dreams finally launched in February of this year. And though it's been adjusted to principally monitor solar wind, Discover still has one eye turned back on the Earth. And then we go down here for a quote from Mr. Gore. And it says, quote, "When I moved into my office in the West Wing of the White House in January of 1993, I asked NASA for a very large version of that picture to put on my wall. It stayed there for 8 years. After the first 6 of those 8 years, I asked NASA if they had another one, and I was surprised, just because I didn't know the full story at that point when they told me, no, that's the only one. There's not another one. Astronauts don't go to the moon anymore, so we have relatively few images of the entire Earth captured all at once. Sure, we have lots and lots of images of parts of Earth taken many times a day, which can be stitched together to give a complete picture of the globe. But there's something about the whole planet view, a sense of completeness, of closedness." And this last paragraph is very odd that they were included in there, unless you know a little bit of background over the past few months and years, is that the moon hoax and NASA lies has been getting a lot of play on the alternative internet media now, and they started calling out that the Apollo 17 from 1972 picture of Earth had been stitched together, and NASA now here is admitting it. So later they'll come together and say, well, when we stitched it together, we made some errors to explain the discrepancies of the duplicated clouds that I showed in the video right before this. All right, so let's take this apart. So if we go to the distance to the moon, we find out that the moon's distance is 238,900 miles away. Now, Mr. Gore said he had this dream so he could get another picture of Earth. And here we see Earthrise. And here's the photograph over here of Earthrise. And it's a photograph of the Earth taken during Apollo 8 mission in 1968 from 238,000 miles away. And as you can see from this picture here, full Earth, no problem. You don't have to be a million miles away. And it's lit, and it looks pretty detailed to me, but I guess it's not a full sunlit Earth, so we needed to get a full sunlit Earth. But wait a minute. Here's the picture Mr. Gore was referring to as the blue marble. And we found out that this photograph is one of the most iconic and among the most widely distributed images in human history. And it was taken by Apollo 17 on December 7th, 1972 from, get this, 28,000 miles away. Just 28,000 miles away, they could get a full view of Earth. Yet the previous article, Mr. Gore's article, was talking about how we had to be a million miles away to get that photograph he dreamed up in his dreams. And just to show you also that it's not just us, we go halfway around the world to China's space program, and we see this picture. China's lunar test spacecraft takes incredible picture of Earth and Moon together, October 28th, 2014. And again, look, this is just outside of the moon's surface on one of their probes they sent out there allegedly. And here's the Earth, small little circle, million miles away. Yeah, right. All right, so also China's doing the same pump and dump scheme with us that NASA's been doing so successfully for over 40, 50 years. Again, this is from the same internet link, Universe Today. China launches moon mission to test key lunar sample return technologies. Sounds interesting. So let's see what this is about. So we read that China launched a robotic mission to the moon today that will test a slew of key technologies required for safely delivering samples gathered from the moon's surface and returning them to Earth later this decade for analysis by researchers. Today's unmanned launch of what has been dubbed Chang'e 5 TI is a technology testbed serving as a precursor for a future mission aimed at conducting China's first lunar sample return mission in 2017. So they're sending up all these test rockets, apparently, so they can go to the moon again. But wait a minute, we scroll down here, and what do we read? But the goal is to test and validate guidance, navigation, and control and trajectory design technologies required for the sample return capsule's safe reentry. So they're doing more testing, and then we scroll down a little farther and we find out, well, back in December 14th, 2013, their Chang 3 mothership went to the moon, and they cruised around on their rovers and whatnot. So they've already been to the moon, apparently, according to them. And here's a picture of them with their rovers on there. So apparently they're going to go back in 2017, and they have to do all this technology testing to get it right. And, you know, why we went there back in the late 60s, and we could do it. Now they're just learning how to do it, but they've already been there. So what are they going to do? Go grab some more rocks because they forgot them the first time, or collect some more moon dust? See how the lies go, folks. All right, so over to the alien invasion setup. Let's cruise over to here. And here we see an article by the Washington Post. And again, the date is July 24th. So this is 4 days later after the Pluto announcements and the pictures of the moon, or the Earth, Gore's Earth. So it says NASA estimates 1 billion Earths in our galaxy alone. 1 billion Earths. Wow. So cruising down, we see there are a billion Earths in this galaxy, roughly speaking. Not a million, a billion. We're talking 1 billion rocky planets that are approximately the size of Earth and are orbiting familiar-looking yellow sunshine stars in a habitable zone where water could be liquid at the surface. That's a billion planets where human beings, or get this, they're genetically modified descendants. What does that mean? All right, so cruising down here, we learn more that Rachel Feltman reported Thursday that NASA's Kepler Space Telescope has discovered a bunch of new planets, including Kepler's 4052b, that they described as the most Earth-like planet ever found outside our solar system. It's something like 60% bigger in radius than the Earth, and it measures 1,400 light years away and cannot be directly imaged. But it's probably rocky. Remember before it says it was rocky, now she's saying it's probably rocky. And it's habitable zone. And we're told that the parent star is 6 billion years old, roughly. And then we're told that no one has seen it yet. Only it's detected because it's too far away and dim. So there's a lot we don't know about it. We don't know for sure whether it's rocky. It was rocky, it could be rocky, and now we're not sure. We don't know whether it has an atmosphere or water at the surface or anything like that. We've seen only the dimming of starlight from the host star. The pattern of that dimming gives us a good measure of its orbital period, so they can tell from this light coming back from so far away, 1,400 light years, that it's 385 days orbit, and less precisely its size. We're not even sure of the exact size of the host star. So this is the lies they tell, and I want to just show you this right here, that the distance in light years, if we take light year, 1 light year, and convert it, and what they do is they make the number so huge that we cannot even fathom the distances they're talking about. So our reference point on Earth at the equator is about a little less than 25,000 miles circumference of the equator. So that's about as much as we can understand how big 25,000 miles is the roundness of the Earth, according to heliocentric theorists. But here we take 1,400 light years, and what do we learn? Well, it's 8 quadrillion, 230 trillion, 75 billion, 522 million, 457,050 and change miles away. And they can tell the orbit is 385 days from all that coming back, and it may or may not be rocky. The lies, folks, the lies are enormous. Okay, so here now we see again July 20th, so there's a media blitz going on the NASA space propaganda and related space agencies, all at the exact same time. Stephen Hawking announces $100 million hunt for alien life. Well, let's see what this is about. We're told that Mr. Current Einstein, Hawkins, and a Russian tycoon, Yuri Melner, held a news conference in London to announce their new project, injecting $100 million and a whole lot of brain power into the search for intelligent extraterrestrial life, an endeavor they're calling Breakthrough Listen. Quote, "We believe that life arose spontaneously on Earth," Hawking said, "so in an infinite universe, there must be other occurrences on life." Are you getting where this is leading? Again, the Washington Post, the previous article is Washington Post, and then this article here, again from the Washington Post just a couple months before on April 8th. Why NASA's top scientist is sure that we'll find signs of life in the next decade. So it goes on to say, is anyone out there? The answer is almost certainly yes. The search for alien life has long since shifted from a question whether it exists to a question of when we'll find it. NASA Chief Scientist Ellen Stofan predicted this week the answer could come within the next decade. Quote, I believe we are going to have strong indications of life beyond Earth in the next decade and definite evidence in the next 10 to 20 years, she told a panel. So you get the idea. They're setting us up for an invasion here, folks.
Hello, we're back. Manny Pacquiao's on the way. President Bill Clinton is here with us. So if I was president, and I won't be, let's be honest, the first thing I would do after putting my hand on that Bible and taking that oath to serve the country is I wouldn't even probably finish the oath. I would run to the White House. I demand to see all the classified files on the UFOs. Because I want to know. I'd want to know what has been going on. Did you do that?
Sort of.
Sort of.
Yeah.
So going over here to my blog, tabooblog.com, it's just insane how they're dumbing us down, and their media, just mainstream media, is making such stupid news. And I mean, this is a picture of what role models females then and now. You can see how this country's been degraded and how they're teaching our children just to accept that kind of lifestyle. It's ridiculous. But getting back to the alien invasion, here are some quotes. This is Ronald Reagan, September 1987, in front of the UN. Quote, in our obsession with antagonisms of the moment, we often forget how much unites all members of humanity. Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us realize this common bond. I occasionally think how quickly our differences would vanish if we're facing an alien threat from the outside world. And then scrolling down to this next quote that was a couple years before at a high school. I couldn't help but say to him, meaning God, say to him, just think how easy his task and mine might be in these meetings that we held if suddenly there was a threat to this world from some other species from another planet outside in the universe. We'd forget all the little local differences that we have between our countries, and we would find out once and for all that we really are human beings here on this earth. And then not so coincidentally, in 1988, a few years later, quote from Mikhail Gorbachev, former president of Russia, I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we're facing an alien threat from outside this world. Kind of amazing how they use the exact same language, isn't it, folks, if it wasn't so well coordinated. Now, here's a really telling quote from Dr. Henry Kissinger, allegedly from him at the Bilderberg Conference in France in 1991. Very important. Quote, today, America would be outraged if UN troops entered Los Angeles to restore order. Tomorrow, they will be grateful. This is especially true if they were told that there was an outside threat from beyond, whether real or promulgated, that threatened our very existence. It is then that all peoples of the world will plead to deliver them from this evil. The one thing every man fears is the unknown. And get this, when presented with this scenario, individual rights will be willingly relinquished for the guarantee of their well-being granted to them by the world government. Doesn't get any clearer than this, folks. All right, so let's finally click over here to Mr. Pope Francis, the Jesuit. And this says Pope Francis, this is in the Independent, Pope Francis declares evolution and Big Bang theory are real and God is not, quote, a magician with a magic wand and look on his face when he's discovered this. Now, who was he talking to when he said this? Well, here it goes on to say, the theories of evolution and the Big Bang are real and God is not a magician with a magic wand, Pope Francis declared. Speaking at the Pontifical Academy of Sciences, the Pope made comments which experts said put an end to the, quote, pseudo-theories, end quote, of creationism and intelligent design that some argue were encouraged by his predecessor, Benedict XVI. And then we can see that Sir Elton John labels Pope Francis my hero. Oh, really? My hero, huh? Well, the first Jesuit in 600 years, or the first Pope to be replaced in 600 years, they bring in this Jesuit who comes from Argentina's dirty wars. And this man kept his silence, being a religious man of the highest order, kept his silence during pedophilia and murders during Argentina's dirty war. He's having been complicit with the military dictatorship's imprisonment, torture, and murder of more than 30,000 Argentinians during the country's dirty war. It would be a lot closer to the truth, however, to see him as a man of inaction, one who, for whatever political, religious, and or personal reasons, chose to remain silent. Now, the Vatican is clearly coordinated with NASA, and we know this because here in my blog at plaintruth.info, we can read that the Vatican is the largest and longest owners of telescope observatories, including the newest named Lucifer. Yes, folks, in New Mexico, they built these telescopes and they called it Lucifer. So they have been very interested in space for a long time. They have known all about space for a long time. We have been led down a road. Okay, so the road I'm referring to is that all roads still lead to Rome, even truer today than 500 years ago, but we're still under the same power and control. And those powers are divided up in a trilateral globalist system that is a separate city-states. The Vatican, the City of London, and Washington, D.C. are separate city-states beholden to no other country. The City of London is not beholden to England. Washington, D.C. is allegedly supervised by the senators, but they have autonomy, and the Vatican is its own separate city-state with its own mayor, constitution, tax havens, police force, etc. So all roads still lead to Rome. Now, I've offered people $100 if they could tell me what the District of Columbia means in the Washington, D.C. And I've been doing this for months, and I still haven't given up the $100. And here is why it's named the District of Columbia, so we can get this out. We find that it was named and set up as, quote, Little Rome by the Jesuits of Vatican origin. The Jesuit John Carroll was probably the richest man in America in the late 1700s. Carroll allowed funding to construct D.C., which is nicknamed, quote, Rome on the Potomac, end quote. In fact, Wikipedia and the Catholic Encyclopedia confirm Washington, D.C.'s original name as Rome, Maryland. Also, a branch of the Potomac River was called Tiber, which is named after a river in Rome. The owner of the land used to be Francis Pope. Get it? Pope Francis. And his priest was Jesuit Andrew White. Like Rome, Washington, D.C. has 7 hills, whose names are Capitol Hill, Meridian Hill, Floral Hills, Forest Hills, Hillbrook, Hillcrest, and Knox Hill. Is this a coincidence? It doesn't look like that to me. We scroll down and we find that Daniel Carroll owned land in D.C., along with Roman Catholic Pierre Lefont, who was part of the creation of Washington, D.C., the architect of Washington, D.C., in fact. So you see the reach of the Vatican. Now, back in Julius Caesar's day, when he created the first gold coins, they weighed an ounce. And for an ounce back then, you could get a nice toga, a nice belt, and a nice pair of sandals. Today, that value is still upheld. For an ounce of gold is around $1,200 or so, and you can still get a very nice suit, belt, and shoes. So gold has held its value. But our banking system that is 500 years old, and so is our Roman Latin law, was set up around maritime law. Roman banking system was set up around transport on the seas, along with accounting for souls, quote, lost at sea. This is why still today we have river banks and liquid and frozen assets, and we make deposit slips where our currency or currency holds a landmark on the fiat currency. And this is why we're labeled to be on our citizenships, as well as another name for the Vatican is the Holy See. The Vatican is by far the richest country. This is also why Switzerland is a neutral country. It's home to the Rothschilds and the Rothschild banking, never invaded during World War I and II, has the secret bank accounts, and also provides the Swiss guards to protect the Vatican wealth. Not by coincidence, folks. And it should also be said that in court, we're still ruled by Roman Latin law, we have to have a Black's Dictionary to decipher the Latin so we can understand what the heck they're referring to in our legal system. And this is, again, we're at sea, and this is why you enter on your citizenship, and you enter through the gates, which is called the docket, and the judge sits 3 Freemason degrees high on 3 steps high, and he's in his black Saturn robes, Satan robes, ruling down with his gavel or phallic symbol to decide who has been harmed or injured for lost souls or lost goods at sea. So the road I'm referring to is the road that still leads back to Rome for the past 500 years and has not changed. In fact, I argue that the powers that be, the 3 city-states, the Vatican City, the City of London, and Washington, D.C., which are not beholden to any other country, are still in power today in a well-coordinated globalist trinity. And if we go over here, we can read that all roads still lead to Rome. Over 2 centuries, 2 more city-states were set up, the City of London and Washington, D.C. Now, very few in the United States of America have any clue what the District of Columbia means. So it's a little known fact that the District of Columbia was literally named and set up as, quote, Little Rome by the Jesuits of Vatican Order. Okay, to further get into this about the 3 city-states and how they rule and have been ruling for 500 years, this is an article from my blog, Taboo, T-A-B-U blog.com, Our Ruling Dynastic Families and Their Global Systems Used. And this goes on to expose who's really behind the show and why. This is a telling quote from Baron Nathan Meyer de Rothschild. I care not what puppet is placed on the throne of England to rule the British Empire in which the sun never sets. The man that controls Britain's money supply controls the British Empire, and I control the British money supply. Not much clearer than that. And here's what they're referring to as the 3 stars or the 3 city-states on the flag of Washington, District of Columbia, Mini Rome. And further down, let's get into the Rothschilds a little more. Here's the founder, Mayor Rothschild, and the descendants who are still in power today. Here's one of their little homes. And also, so getting down here, it's important to understand that flags are very important on flags and emblems and shields. And this is the Rothschild coat of arms. So we can get this a little more in the picture. Rothschild coat of arms. And you see it's a double eagle, red, white, and there's some blue in there as well, with gold on the eagle. So we scroll down and we read that a goldsmith named Amschel Moses Bauer opened a counting house in Frankfurt, Germany in 1743. He placed a Roman eagle on a red shield over the door, prompting people to call his shop the Red Shield Firm, pronounced in German Rothschild. His son later changed his name to Rothschild when he inherited the business. So where else do we see these colors of red, white, and blue? Well, here's the British East India flag that came into use at an unknown date shortly before 1800. That's the British flag with the red cross in the middle. So they use the sword and the shield, or the cross. And where else do we see these colors? Well, here's the first flag that allegedly Betsy Ross was told to sew, and it includes the 13 colonies here. But in fact, that's another lie. The Betsy Ross story is the most tenacious piece of fiction involving the flag. There's simply no credible evidence. Cropped up in 1870, 100 years after the first flag was sewn. While Ross did make flags in Philadelphia in the 1770s, it's certain that the story about her creating a flag is a myth. As President Woodrow Wilson, who presided over the first official National Flag Day on June 14, 1916, is said to have replied when asked his thoughts on the story, "Would that were true. Would that it were true." There's the Confederate flag that's been in the news, red, white, and blue. Australian flag, red, white, and blue. Here's the red and white cross in Switzerland, where the home of the Rothschilds. Switzerland never been invaded. Here's the International Red Cross. It's going back so far that even Christopher Columbus, who never even set foot on America, only made it as far as Haiti on his journey, used a red cross on his ships. Here's the red cross on the City of London. Now here's one, they combine them all, red, white, and blue, and the Rothschild shield. And this is the new Russian Federation flag that was created in 1991. And look at all the flags that are red, white, and blue. We've got Australia, we've got Chile, we've got Puerto Rico, we've got Norway, the Balkan Islands. On and on it goes, folks. Here's the double eagle flag of Australia, Rothschilds. The double eagle flag was a prominent symbol of the Holy Roman Empire and may still be seen on the coat of arms of several countries. Here's the double eagle on the Freemasonry sign, Freemasonry symbol of 33 degrees. Here's Hitler's eagle. Here's the eagle on the $20 gold piece. Here's the eagle on the Great Seal with the red, white, and blue. It goes on and on, folks. So I want to end up closing by being positive in that we are disclosing and outing the 500 years of massive lies, the lies of NASA, the lies of the secret societies that have ruled us for 500 years through deceptions and just massive lies. So the good news is it's coming out. Please share this with others. Do your own research. Come to your own conclusions. And when you do, start working with others to start bringing and designing new visions of much better ways, because it's over now. 500 years of these lies is over, and it's time to start anew. And thank you for listening, and we'll catch you down the road at the next video.
You tell me lies, 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 sweet little lies, when I can't bear the truth. You tell me lies, 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 sweet little lies, help me make them all come true. Tell me that the rain won't fall today. Tell me that the tax man lost his way.